Folks, today we're going to be responding to another Tommy Robinson video. The topic of the Tommy Robinson video today is going to be how America is next, how the Islamists are coming for America after Britain. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments, like the video, and you can follow me at Rafi the Realtor for all of your South Florida real estate needs. Make sure, if you haven't yet, you can support the channel by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description or Matthew, in the pinned comment. Okay, Nigel and Reginald have already supported the channel. It is now your turn, sir. Let's get into it, shall we?
The current war against Iran's regime is part of a much larger conflict between Judeo-Christian Western civilization and the Islamic world. Operation Epic Fury is the latest chapter in this 1,400-year struggle. Defeating Iran's terror machine and its proxies like Hezbollah once and for all would strike a massive blow against global jihad. But there's just one major problem. Over the past few decades, woke leftist governments across the Western world have allowed countless millions of Muslim migrants to settle in their countries. It's changed the face of Europe, from France to Sweden, Belgium, and Germany, and no place more than Great Britain, where the most popular name for baby boys these days is Mohammed. But the Islamization of the UK runs much deeper than names. Parts of London and Birmingham, Britain's two largest cities, are now unrecognizable. It's become very clear that the waves of Muslim migrants who continue to flow into the UK are not there to assimilate, but to dominate. But if you point that out on social media, look out. Britain's left-wing Labour government is now arresting 30 people per day for social media posts that are supposedly offensive. That's 12,000 people every year arrested for mean tweets or Facebook posts. Folks, free speech is dead in the UK, and no one knows that better than Tommy Robinson. He's been thrown in jail numerous times and had his life threatened by Islamic terrorists, all for speaking out about the Islamic threat to the UK. Tommy is a journalist and activist, and he's currently touring the United States to raise awareness about the plight of the UK and to warn that America is not immune. He joined me recently to share his story and sound the alarm. Take a look. Tommy Robinson, my friend, it has been 16 years since we last sat down for an in-person interview. This is long overdue. You're in Texas right now. You've been barnstorming throughout the United States. And the message you're bringing, Tommy, is that the West is in big trouble, in particular your home country, the UK. So much to unpack here, my friend. Let's start the state of things, because I think the average American may not realize. They think of the Queen, they think of fish and chips and tea time. They think the UK is just a great place, double-decker buses. They may not realize that Islam is making massive, and I mean massive, inroads in the UK. Where are we at right now? Because I see the UK as really the front line for the fight in the struggle for Western civilization because of the Islamic advances there.
London's gone, Paris is gone, Berlin's gone. The visuals you think of, they're gone. 33% of London is English. And the warning I bring to America is I'm not going to talk to you about what I've read in a book. I'm going to talk to you about what I saw.
You're living it.
When I was born in 1982, we had one mosque in my hometown. We now have 45. I've seen the decay, I've seen the attack on freedom, but I've also seen the unholy alliance of the left, along with the police, along with the media, along with the Islamists, how they all unite together. And I've witnessed that. The way I'd say unite together, the left surrender to them, the government surrender to them, politicians surrender to them. So they rule with fear. And fear has paralysed an entire nation, a nation of lions. And the warning I bring to America is this isn't far away now, it's here. Right. I've come and landed in Texas. I've gone to Plano. I've interviewed, I don't know if you've seen the interview I've done.
I have.
So I've sat and met journalists, I've sat and met politicians. I thought it was important to meet everyday American people. And I sat with a couple who have now fled Plano because, and she cries her eyes out. Her grandmother lived there, her mother lived there. She's been forced to leave after harassment by the imported Islamic community. I went to one of these huge compounds. Let's not call it a mosque because it's not, it's an entire community.
It is.
The roads are called Medina Villas. And I've seen this. This is the seed has been planted. You need to understand what has happened to your country over the last 8 years since Joe Biden's opened your borders. Yeah. You were used to Hispanic, Mexican immigration. Well, not anymore. Pakistani, Afghani, Somali, they have been brought in. It's planned. Ask yourself this as an American audience. Why have Somalians come from the hottest place in the world and found themselves in Minnesota, the coldest place in America? They haven't chose to go there, they've been put there. Your borders have been opened, your country's been flooded. 700%, illegal immigration went up 700% in your swing states. They don't want there to ever be a swing state. They were changing the demographic of the vote bank. Now, I've seen how this operates and I've seen the power of it. Yeah. And you need to understand, if you look at your borders open to 10 million people, say, yeah, 10 million illegals. Well, Germany allowed 1 million in. Angela Merkel. A million Syrians. Yeah. Between 2017 and 2022, rapes went up 45%. 56% of the rapes last year in Germany were committed by Muslim migrants. They make up less than 10%. 90% of the convictions in my country, 90%, from a population of 3% Muslim males, 90% of the groups of men that rape young children are from the Islamic community, and 30% of the men convicted are called Mohammed. If you look at Sweden, what do you think of Sweden? Beautiful, blue-haired, lovely country. No, it's gone. Malmo, many cities have gone. 63% of the rapes in Sweden last year, Muslim migrants. Paris, 77% of the rapes last year, Muslim migrants. So this, if you're willing to sacrifice your women and your daughters, if that's what you want to do as a nation, then you follow on. You carry on with the Democratic plan, the Democrats' plan to open your borders to influx, to put migrants and illegal aliens and prioritise them. So I know there's a big debate in a minute about ICE in this country. Yeah. If ICE are not successful, your country's gone. Yeah. You end up like us. You're at crossroads. You have a choice.
No doubt. This is a cautionary tale, and that's why you're here, Tom. You're here in America for several weeks, and you're going from city to city, quite literally. You're a journalist, number one. You're filming, you're doing interviews, but you are sounding the alarm to the American people that, look, you're living it in the UK right now, and it's coming here. And what you just laid out about Plano, Texas, about 40 minutes from here, is absolutely stunning.
You've got 330 mosques in Texas.
Yeah.
You had 200 5 years ago.
That's right.
And to the Americans that think, it's not my problem, it's not in my city, it's coming, okay? People, when you first met me, Eric, you first met me 2009 when I first started talking about these issues. Yeah. I was hated. People didn't believe what I was saying. I come out and spoke about what we now know as grooming gangs. I was condemned. I was attacked. The entire British state threw their weight against me with weapons. So it's great. Do you know how confident I am when I come to America? Not confident, but to sit and have broadcasters, politicians that are willing to have a conversation. Right. The conversation we're having now, you can't have on TV in America, in Britain.
You've been jailed. You've been in solitary confinement for speaking out against this madness.
I just come out after 7 months on solitary for an 18-month prison sentence for making a documentary. A truthful, factual documentary that exposed corruption within the judiciary. The courts, a totalitarian state has weapons. And you think of freedom, democracy up on the Magna Carta tower, dear. It doesn't exist, okay?
It began in the UK in many ways, in the modern sense.
It began, but when you voted for Donald Trump, when America, so Americans, thank you, God bless the United States of America, because when you voted for Donald Trump, you thought you were voting to save America. That was a vote to save Western civilization. That's what it was. We have hope. There's something huge. There's been a big shift. I've been fighting an uphill battle, banging my head against a brick wall. Right now, I'm optimistic because there is a cultural revolution that started in Great Britain. Something huge is happening, a Christian revival, a spiritual awakening is happening that wasn't there. And it's happening because Elon Musk bought X and allowed a platform for discussion. But it happened because you elected Donald Trump, and a ripple from the United States has come. If you don't have fair elections, nowhere in the world does. If you lose your free speech, the world loses their free speech. If Texas falls, they've took the soul of America. If Islam gets a grip in Texas, like it has in every Western nation, this isn't to say most Muslims are bad. It's not to say every Muslim's bad. Some of them are wonderful people. But the value system is alien. It's the opposite of our culture. And
incompatible.
It's incompatible. What's happened to I don't want to hear from right-wing commentators in America about how great Islam is or how great Qatar is, which I keep hearing. You haven't lived with them. We have. You're not surrounded by them. We are. You don't understand what you're talking about. What's happened to the Christian population in the Middle East? What's happened to them in Syria? What's happened to them in Pakistan, in Afghanistan? The only place they've increased is in Israel.
Yeah, and it seems that the targeting of Texas, Tommy, is strategic and intentional. It's the reddest of the red. As Texas goes, so goes American. And the targeting of London as well. Not only London with a Muslim mayor, Sadiq Khan, but now New York City with a Muslim mayor and Islamo-communist Zoran Mamdani. This is all very strategic, right? I mean, look, I've observed this over the years. I've been in the enclaves throughout Europe, including the UK. The migration happens. They establish Muslim-majority communities. They build a mega mosque, and if you build it, they will come. Then all of a sudden you have Sharia courts. It's a Muslim Brotherhood strategy. It unfolds in city after city across the West. It's all very strategic. And Tommy, can you tell us about Keir Starmer, the current Prime Minister of the UK, how he and his left-wing government are not only enabling this, they're encouraging it. It seems that they're working hand in glove with the Islamists in many ways.
And so are your politicians as well. So let's not be fooled that this is a faraway problem now. America is here, okay? And what happens is, because of how they organise themselves, and I'll talk about my hometown. My hometown
Luton.
In Luton, 30 miles north of London. As I said, one mosque now 45, 50% Pakistani Islamic community. The value system very different. But in 2013, I looked at the projected growth forecast for my town. By 2030, that's a 17-year period. The Bangladeshi and Pakistani community were going to increase by 70 to 77%. White and black by 1.2 to 1.4%. So the Democrats, the Labour Party, the Democrats, they sit and they look and they know what the future is, which is Keir Starmer. Now, what happens when you get such a powerful vote bank? So if they hit your swing states and they can swing, the Republicans and the Democrats will bend to them, if they can decide the vote. Now, that gives them a power. Now, what you've just seen, which I'm sorry, we're humiliated, we're embarrassed by Keir Starmer and his unwillingness to stand by our allies, America. If we're in trouble, we'd need you to stand by us. But he didn't stand by you. He didn't allow you to use our military bases. Reason why? He succumbed. He surrendered to the bloc Muslim vote, to the radical jihadist community. Now, if you look at, we recognise the Palestinian embassy. We recognise the Palestinian state. Which countries did? France, because they're also in trouble with the Muslim community. Britain, because they're in trouble with the Muslim community. Spain. If we didn't have these communities, and Spain were funded by the Ayatollah.
Disgrace.
All of it's linked, But so then what happens is Great Britain ends up betraying its values, betraying its allies, because it's scared. It's basically being held hostage. Our government are being held hostage. And why are they being held hostage? We have 40,000 British Muslims on the terror watch list. We only have 70,000 armed forces. Now, these problems, just so you understand...
Wait, how many on the terror watch list?
40,000 British Muslims on the terror watch list.
40,000 in the UK.
3,000 monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That costs £9 billion a year. Now, these attacks, and just see...
I've interviewed some of them, by the way.
You need to understand the scale of the problem. I focus with the rape of a generation of Britain's daughters, which was facilitated and accommodated by religious leaders. You know, like in Minnesota, the fraud. Yeah. You know how they've all turned a blind eye?
Yeah.
And been involved in it probably because the money circles back to the Democrats.
It's wild how Tommy has had these conversations with so many people. His brain just fires it off at this point. It's so deeply ingrained in his brain. It's like driving a car. When your brain shuts off, you don't even realize you're actually driving. He's so used to repeating these same points. And he's probably so tired of repeating them, but they're falling on deaf ears most of the time. I think it's half of these hosts just want to have someone on so they can get a bunch of views and eyeballs and they can talk to someone controversial. But I mean, this is important. And the reality is it's not about human beings. You know, in a perfect world, you can have people of different faiths, different ways of thinking, different cultural backgrounds, race, colors, and creeds who can live harmoniously. The issue is when you have a belief system that is opposed to living harmoniously with other religions. And you'll have Muslims telling you, oh, but there's no compulsion in religion. That might be what that particular Muslim is focusing on. The peaceful period of Muhammad. But when you take abrogation into account and you look at the military hadiths and you consider what happened when Muhammad's armies became more powerful, that whole no compulsion in religion thing went out the window, and now you either pay the jizya, you convert, or you die. Like that was the reality. And the jizya was only for X number of, I mean, there were periods where they were more accepting, less accepting, but 40,000 people on the terror watch, that's a fucking problem. That's a huge problem.
But they've allowed this to happen because it benefits them, and they've got a vote bank which are going to keep them in power. Yeah. They know they can click their fingers, there's 100,000 votes. None of them are going for Republicans, so they don't care. They'll let them get away with that. Yeah. Now, they allowed them to rape a generation of Britain's daughters. Now,
the grooming gangs, not just a scandal,
when we first met,
an epidemic.
When we first met,
unpack that for us. People may not know this is a historic scandal of epic proportions.
This is going to sound unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay. When we first met, it's the issue that I was talking about. I was talking about it because my cousin was a victim of these gangs. She was 14 years old. She woke up naked, being raped by lots of Muslim men with big beards who were raping her. She was prostituted. They used drugs on her. And I remember the family calling the police. The police done nothing. Now, again, what you have to understand is we formed an organisation in 2009 of young English men, and we hit the streets in towns and cities about this issue. We made them deal with it because for 30 to 40 years, what we now know is that they conspired, government, police, religious leaders, they all conspired to hide this crime, to allow the rape of a generation of daughters. Now, I've done a 5-part series as a journalist, a documentary series called The Rape of Britain. I focused on a town called Telford. You can watch this series on trfilms.co.uk. It's fabulous journalism, fabulous investigative journalism.
It is.
But I focused on Telford because Telford has a 1.7% Muslim population, similar to the population in Texas. Mm-hmm. So it has a 1.7% Muslim population. So I took the population, I spent 18 months in that town, and I spent time with survivors. The police investigation identified 1,000 victims. 5 of them have been murdered, set on fire, burned alive, raped, killed. Yeah,
young girls.
5 children. Now, so I met the families of these children, and I met the girls that survived these attacks. And I met 12 or 18 girls, and I sat them down for 3 hours or 4 hours, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And I built a database and a police-style investigation in this city with my team. And by the end of my investigation, I knew every family, I knew where they lived, I knew where they worked. We tracked their cars, we went into their businesses, we had girls in their cars videoing them. So we done an investigation in them. Now, the police identified 1,000 victims, and they identified 200 men that were involved in the rapes. So we know 200 were involved in the rapes. My investigation identified 264. Yeah, so we got 260.
And these are Muslim men.
These are Muslim men. Do you know
raping English girls,
kidnapping, torturing, and raping in one small town. Now, do you know how many Muslim men are in that town over the age of 16 and under the age of 70? 1,000. So the police identified 20% of the population that were raping our kids. And we identified 26%. And an inquiry by a law firm identified over 30%. Now, this is in one small town. Have you heard of Rotherham?
Yes.
Rotherham's the other town that most people have heard of around the world.
Yes.
Rotherham has a 3.7% Muslim population. There's none there. When I say there's none there, my town's got 50%. Many towns in the UK have got 30, 40, 50%. Our capitals, our cities, our major infrastructure cities, they're gone. They have taken over. They're having on average 5 children on average, 4.8. We're having 1.2. Never has a cultural reverse from this low birth rate with a dominant force coming in. Now, migration is being flooded in. Christianity has come under attack. Identities come under attack. Men have come under attack. This is a total organised attack on Western civilization.
Who's organising it?
It's happened, globalists that despise Christianity. Now, the problem is, Americans, you're the only place in the globe with free speech. You have to value it because we wish we had it.
Yes.
And your guns, value them because you can stop the tyranny that we have faced.
Yes.
And they want to take the two. They want to take free speech. In fact, free speech is the enemy of them.
Of the left, no doubt.
My politicians, the European Union, it's their enemy. So in this police investigation, where we identified 20% of the men in the small town of Telford, we've done a 5-part series. We found police that were working with them, government that were working with them. But we raised these issues when I first spoke to you in 2009. They hated me. The full weight of the British state come for me. They imprisoned me, they attacked me, they used lawfare against me continuously because they wanted to hide this. Why did they want to hide it?
They fear you.
They fear the truth because if the truth comes out...
Because you're a truth teller.
If the truth comes out, the country will look at the government. It's their policy failures that have created this. The man who went on a terrorist attack last week in Texas, it's the failure of the government to protect American citizens. Do you know your Donald Trump ban in 2016?
Yeah.
The ban he put in, which they called a Muslim ban, which the world went mad at him about. Well, if we had that ban in the UK, then 26 children would be alive right now because they were blown up in an Ariana Grande concert by a terrorist.
2017, Manchester.
His father was a terrorist. He comes to our country, allowed in. He's allowed to go to Libya, a terrorist hotspot, get weapons training, bomb training, and come back. 280 European citizens were murdered by terrorists who would not have been able to murder them if we simply had the ban that Donald Trump brought in. Now, Donald Trump is protecting you. I know many Americans don't realise it. I know you don't get it, but we wish we had someone protecting us. Do you know the only person protecting our speech now? The only place protecting our speech. J.D. Vance, Rubio, Trump. You've given us hope. We have hope, and there's a resistance. There's a growing... The public are awake. It's took a long time, and it's sad that these events had to happen. You had to have the election in 2020 where Joe Biden was elected. The country needed to see a puppet government in action. You needed to see what they were doing with your borders because it's been happening for a long time. You haven't had fair elections. You haven't had free. You think you've got your constitution, but really, when big tech was controlled in such a way by government interfering with private business to control the narrative and silence certain voices, that's not free speech. And it's not free speech when it has consequence. And we have consequence in the UK. We're 12,000 people last year were arrested for what they said on social media.
The UK is the worst in the world when it comes to that.
Well, Russia had 800, and we keep getting told how bad Russia is.
For quote-unquote offensive posts on social media. Meanwhile, Muslim gangs are raping little girls, and they're walking free half the time.
They're allowed to rape little girls. They were allowed. Literally, they sacrificed our daughters.
Because the police don't want to be called Islamophobic.
Again, not my opinion. Government studies, they come out in 2014. We told everyone about it. Now, all of the videos I made back then in your time when we first met, they've aged very well because people can see I told the truth and they can see what we faced for telling the truth. Some of these crimes, now this is not about sexual gratification. This is not about men that want to have sex with children. It's about the destruction of a generation of England's daughters. Some of these girls, one girl, they took a hot iron rod and they heated up the letter M and scolded her bum because she was the property of Mohammed. Another girl, they nailed her tongue to a table. They tortured these children. They took them out to the woods, poured petrol over them, lit lighters and terrified them till they urinated. They urinated in their faces of these girls. This was about taking the one thing we hold dearest. Now, if you think, as Americans, this isn't happening here, you're crazy. Now, this is happening in Europe. In Holland, it's the Moroccans, and they call it Loverboy. In India, it's called Love Jihad. In the UK, it's called grooming. What we're talking about is rape jihad. And the Sikhs aren't doing it. The Hindus aren't doing it. The Jews aren't doing it. No one else is doing it in this way. You know, one of these cases had 11 cousins. Another case had a father and son raping kids together. Another case had a brother and brother-in-law. 3 brothers, 4 brothers, 5 brothers. We've never seen this in the West. It is that accepted. It's that fair game. And it's exactly what Boko Haram done with the Nigerian girls. It's exactly what ISIS done with the Yazidi girls. But it's not happening in Boko Haram in Nigeria. It's not happening in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's happening in British cities. Every British city has an Islamic community. And believe me, it's happening here.
Yeah. Number one, Winston Churchill is turning in his grave, one of my heroes. I see President Trump as a modern-day Churchill, by the way. I really do, a defender of the West. And really the last line of defense for Western civilization. Tommy, as you said, if the lights go out in America, the lights go out throughout the West. I mean, a dark shadow descends upon the entire Western world. Why should every American watching care about the UK and what happens there? Of course, we care about the UK. Everyone, we love Great Britain, our cousins across the pond, but Great Britain is in dire straits right now, as you've laid out. Why should the average American, people might say, well, they're over there, we're here, we're safe, but no, you broke down, it is here.
I see.
And the UK, to me, it has been a light post, a guiding light for the West for well over 1,000.
Something that's just so interesting is the world is hating on Israel, but Israel's doing the one thing these countries don't have the balls to do. And the difference is Israel really does not have a choice because its enemies are massive, they're surrounding it, and they're threatening to annihilate it. The difference is with these European countries is they're not threatening to annihilate it. They're very quietly, and maybe not so quietly, but they're doing it much more, much slower, more calculated. They're playing a really nice slow game. And at some point, it might be too late, you know? I mean, in certain cities in Europe, it already is. But unless the Europeans wake up, it's going to be too late. So it is what it is.
Years. We can't have the lights go out in the UK. We can't afford it.
Our economies need Saudi Arabia, they need Qatar, but they're selling their soul and they're selling their culture. You can have your business agreements with these countries, but allowing them to fund mass cities, mass enclaves on your land for a value system that's totally different. Why should you care? Because we care. We love America. When you hurt, we hurt. When your election, when I watch what happened January 6th, when we're watching all this development, I feel it passionately. We feel it passionately.
We have that bond.
Very different to other European countries. If I see a terrorist attack in a country, I'm gutted. When it's America, it hits us. I can't explain why, but that's why for me, stepping foot in America, as I've been given the opportunity to now, I'm blessed. I bring an important warning.
You feel at home.
I feel at home.
Yeah.
I feel free.
Yeah.
And I don't feel free at home. I feel safe. And I don't feel safe at home. And I feel like a total weight's lifted on my shoulder when I walked in this country that I don't have at home. But the problem is, it's coming here. Why should you care? Look, it's in our DNA as British men to fight. Yeah. It's in our DNA. We fight. We're a nation of fighters. Yeah. It's in our blood. We fight tyranny. We don't back down. But they managed to install such fear, where a generation of men were too scared about being called a label, a racist, an Islamophobe. Yeah. They got us financed up to our hill. They got cancel culture. And what you have to understand is the far left, the left, they've had a successful revolution. They've opened the borders, they've attacked the church. Now, when the church disappeared and we lost faith in the UK, we lost who we were.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the gospel went out from the UK for centuries.
But it didn't just go out. They intentionally got rid of it, mocked it, attacked it, made Christians feel ashamed to say they're Christian, made people feel, and a void was left. And into that void feels other ideologies. It feels Marxism, communism, Islamism, LGBTQ+, and a value system. And all of these other value systems are then celebrated through education. This is a successful revolution. Yeah. And they've opened the borders, they've broke the family, they've destroyed the value system that built this nation. So right now, we as a country have been looking, as people, looking at who are we? And first of all, if we remember who we are, if you're a man, I'm an Englishman. I know who I am. I know where I've come from and I know what my forefathers sacrificed, and that's why I'm going to fight. Yeah. But when you don't understand who you are, where you come from, you're not going to fight for it. And that's where they've built the generation. They've created a generation of selfish people and cowards. And all we need to do, and they've broke community. They've broke down the spirit of community, which comes from Christianity. All of these things come from Christianity. So there's a revival happening, and I don't want to sound like a downer, but there's been a big shift. I'm optimistic. And 2 years ago, we sat down. I was deplatformed. I was attacked. I was imprisoned. And I fled the country. And I was sat in Spain. And Elon Musk, every time I get put down, something picks me up. I believe I'm meant to be doing this now. I don't have a choice. This is my destiny on this path of awakening people through what I've lived. I was meant to be born in Luton. I was meant to see the crimes, meant to understand jihad. All this was meant to happen. So I can give a warning to others to protect your nations and protect your families. But I come back to the UK. And unless we become the media, unless, this is what I'm going to tell you to your bosses, get a studio and help a Christian revival in my country, please. Yes. Come to London, make sure people hear Christianity, the true message of Jesus, and they have these free discussions on what's happening. But I got 15 influencers together, if you want to call them influencers, citizen journalists, and we said, we don't want to talk about what we disagree on, because we can disagree on a lot. Yeah. And getting egos together is hard. But we need to agree on 5 core principles. We spent 2 days in a hotel banging heads because our culture's in danger, our civilization's in danger. And the media, the mainstream media, that's the cancer. We, shows, podcasts, new media, we're the cure. Right. We need to reach the public. They've got total control of it. If we bring these 15 people together, we work together for free speech, against LGBTQ+, sexualization of children, indoctrination, against Islam, for Judeo-Christian values, for free. So we have these 5 values, and we work together. If we change the culture, we change the politics. Yeah. You had 86 million people who didn't vote in the United States. We had 20 million. Keir Starmer, that fraud, that tyrant, was elected off 9 million votes because we're asleep. We're asleep. Yeah. 20 million didn't vote.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
48, you just had a 50% vote rate, I think, in your primaries. Do you know in the Muslim community, do you know what percent of them vote? It's up 90%. They're voting in a military fashion for who their imam tells them to vote for. They will use democracy to end democracy, and you're asleep. We're asleep. Christianity's asleep. We've all been asleep. And we need to get organised, and that's what we've done. We set up an organisation called Unite the Kingdom about uniting everyone based on Judeo-Christian values, celebrating British identity. We're going to make it cool to be Christians again. We're going to make it cool to be British. And we've successfully gone from 30,000 people on the 30th of June, 2024. We went to 100,000 people on the 27th of July. Yep. Well, when we had that, Christ is King was being bellowed across our capital city by 100,000 people. And I stood there and thought, something spiritual is happening here. Something massive is happening here. We went from 100,000. The next day, I was arrested under terrorism legislation. I was detained and charged under terrorism legislation. Elon Musk stepped in. I would be in prison now.
He's had your back.
I'd be in prison now as convicted terrorist.
Yeah.
He stepped in, gave me legal support, and we beat that case.
And that's why the UK wants to ban X, by the way.
They want to ban X, and they'll probably want to imprison
insane.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk needs to defend him, but we went from 100,000 to 200,000. I was in prison then for 18 months. I was released from prison, and 3 months later, we put millions on the streets of our capital city.
Yes, you did.
We put millions.
And May 2026, big one coming up.
May 16th is going to be the biggest event that London's seen. And beyond May 16th, see, our organisation is called Unite the Kingdom. I've travelled Europe at the minute, having meetings with Germans, with Italians, with Polish, with French, with lead politicians to say that this is far bigger than Unite the Kingdom. We need to unite the kingdom and we need to unite the West. Every culture in Europe, other than Germany, look, listen to these statistics, right? In Hungary last year, they had 650 rapes. We had 88,000. Yeah?
88,000.
88,000. Hungary had 650. Now, Sweden in 1975 had 350 rapes, and last year they had 32,000. You can draw a graph of Islamic immigration. 2003 in the UK, we had 8,800 rapes. 2023, 88,000. Now, if you take that same continued growth,
put it next to the migration graph.
It's identical.
Yeah.
Now, it's not wrong for us to speak up. It's not extreme, it's not racist, it's not hateful. We have to at some point stand up and tell the truth. You have a congressman now, if you're a Republican watching this and your congressman is not part of the Sharia caucus, you have a chance to save the United States of America. The chance is there. You do not have to go down the same path as we have. But for some reason, many of your politicians want you to. And what reason is that? Where's the money coming from? Who's influencing elections? They want the destruction of Christianity. They want the destruction of Western civilization. They want the breakdown of the family. All of these things. So
that's why they're embracing Islam, yet they're getting in bed with dark forces they don't understand when they embrace Islam. Because at the end of the day, the left will be the first ones with their heads on the chopping block. We saw it in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution.
So in Lebanon?
They saw in Lebanon, they supported the Ayatollah in 79. Lebanon, they supported the Islamists. The left did. Then they ended up either killed or in jail.
And America,
that's where this ends.
It's where it ends. But an American audience.
They're so short-sighted. They're useless idiots, I should say.
Even I understand the America First agenda, the MAGA agenda. I totally get it. Don't want regime change. Don't want these things. Look, in Afghanistan, 99%.
That's a sliver of MAGA, I would say.
99%.
Yeah, the isolationist wing, but not everyone.
Yeah, 99% of Afghanis want Sharia law. So when you remove the Taliban, they're coming back. Okay, 99% want Sharia law. When they get to your border, they don't go, oh, you know what? Now I want democracy. No, they bring it with them. Yeah, but the Ayatollah of Iran. Now, the Afghanistan want to control the Taliban, Afghanistan, the Taliban do. But Saddam Hussein, they try and link it to what happened in Iraq. Saddam Hussein wanted control of Iraq. The Ayatollah and the Islamic supremacist mindset want control of America. They are funding, how many troops have they killed from the United States? So when people are talking and condemning the removal of the most extreme supremacist mindset in the world, the enslavement of 90 million people, they are working every day against you, against us, the West. They fund Hezbollah, they fund Hamas, they fund all the Houthis, they fund every terrorist atrocity and attack that faces us. They have worked to destroy Western civilization. So when I watch what's happening in Iran, God bless Donald Trump again. Yeah. Let's hope we see the freedom of the people of Iran, which are rich in culture, rich in identity. It's not
Persia was, look, it's throughout the Bible, ancient Persia. I mean, Esther, Mordecai, Cyrus would go on.
And if you replace them, which is happening, if they fall, you're going to have a nation that loves America. Yeah. Donald Trump's going to be a hero there for hundreds of years. Yeah? An absolute hero, statues built. But they will want democracy, want freedom, and love the United States rather than being a base there for all of these terrorists around the world.
Exactly.
So for the few.
You mentioned the revolution that's been a leftist globalist revolution that has been successful using Islam, Tommy, as a battering ram. I see Trump is leading a counter-revolution in America, no doubt. And you are as well in the UK. Who are some of the leaders? You're on the streets. I mean, you're leading massive marches, massive events, the one coming up in May that you said. Who do you see on the horizon? Anyone in the UK, in the political class, who encourages you, who gives you hope? I know Rupert Lowe is out there now, Restore Britain. So I know you're not a Nigel Farage fan.
Look, Nigel, not two Americans. Nigel Farage said, not my words, his words, by 2050, the Islamic community is that dominant that we cannot alienate them. Now, if he's looking at the projected growth forecast for the Islamic community, I'm looking at it as well. Well, I want to stop it, and we're going to stop it. We're not going to surrender to it. We're not saying, oh, we can't offend them. No, I don't care if they're offended. They're not taking over our country. They're not changing our nation. We're not submitting to this. We can't.
Americans, wake up, wake up. Hello, ding, ding, ding. People still want to blame Israel. It is what it is. Well, if you haven't seen my episode with Tommy Robinson, make sure to go and search Tommy Robinson on my channel. If you go to my homepage, you'll probably see it there. I flew to England about a year ago and sat down with Tommy, and we had an amazing conversation. I also went to his first Unite the Kingdom rally. I was backstage. There were millions of people there. It was amazing. Make sure to leave your comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me at Rafi the Realtor for all of your South Florida real estate needs, and you can support the channel by going to the Buy Me a Coffee link, which can be found in the description or pinned comment. I look forward to you tuning into the next video. Until next time, peace out.